Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you on another webinar in the PLGBC Expert Series. Today we will talk about environmental product declaration, which are a tool without it's hard to think about responsible design. During today's webinar, we will learn how to use EPDs and what to pay attention to when choosing materials with the lowest carbon footprint in the first 3 stages of the building life cycle. Today's expert, Roderick Conijn, Key Account Manager and European Sustainability Ambassador. He is involved into the flooring industry since 1984 and representing Interface since 2006. He is undoubtedly one of the most experienced sales experts in the EMEA region. Right now, I would like to hand over the floor to our expert. I invite you all to listen to the presentation and share your questions in the chat. Last few minutes of our meeting, we will dedicate to a Q&A session.
Okay, thanks, Victoria. Thanks for having me today. This morning. I hope everybody will enjoy this small workshop. And of course, at the end, we have a small session in Q&A, and then I will try to answer your questions as good as possible. Okay, so as you know, I work for Interface. We sell carpet tiles, LVT, and Nora rubber. And in all those 3 products, we can provide you EPDs for these products. But today, I will mainly talk about our carpet tiles. As a company, you know, we are all in on storing and preventing emitting carbon. And as you know, carbon is more and more a subject to measure the impact on products in the building environment. Looking at our history a little bit, that we started with our journey to become a more sustainable company already in 1994. We published our first EPD already in 2004 and have been very actively involved in making EPDs more known in the business as a neutral way to compare products on their environmental impact. To do so, we use a LCA, or a life cycle assessment. And as you can see that, especially on raw material level, we still have some challenges to reduce that to 0. And by having this LCA and our EPDs, we have been able in the last 20 years to reduce our carbon footprint by more than 40%. And I think we are trying to get to negative if possible. The reason it's so important to talk about carbon in the built environment, in building offices or hospitals or schools, there's already a lot talk about operational carbon, so lighting, heating, ventilation, but 39% of the embodied carbon is in the building itself. And often buildings are built via building certification like BREEAM or LEED, but that's mainly the building and not so much the interior. And we see a lot of times that a building has LEED Platinum, but if you see what tenants are putting into the building, there is no regard on carbon footprint. So why build a very sustainable building and then put a non-sustainable interior into the building? And by using EPDs, you have the possibility to choose on a very good way what kind of products you can use in your interior. So as Interface, we are made for more, and made for more stands for all aspects within our production, product development, becoming more sustainable, and having an EPD is for us a very important tool to make our products even more sustainable, but also to show our customers what the difference is within our portfolio on the impact of a product, but also a way that you compare our products with competitors. So what we are going to talk about this morning is why is an EPD interesting during the selection procedure, the different ways for the selection within an EPD, and how to read and how to compare products, and not last but least, where you can find EPDs. So for you, as designers, architects, end users, an EPD can be used for a product comparison, but also as a fact check that what we are telling as a company, that what our carbon footprint is or the impact on our product, that's proof via an EPD, because it's a third-party verified declaration. So it can be used in BIM models on the certification schemes like BREEAM and LEED, but also as a building passport, because within an EPD it's always mentioned what kind of raw materials are used within the product. And of course, it's a life cycle assessment. As you know, there are a lot of types of environmental labels, the blauwe engel, cradle to cradle, but these are all type 1 environmental certificates. Of course, there are the type 2 manufacturing labels claiming that products can be recycled. But having an EPD is the only third-party verified document on the impact of a product. And if you see how that it's a third-party verified system, it's made via 2 ISO norms, the 14025 and 1500804. So the first one is the way the LCA needs to be made, and the second one is specific for building materials in Europe, on which levels of the product people need to look to make the EPD. So the advantages of using a EPD is it's trustful because it's third-party verified. It's really transparent on all the data. It's a very complete document. It's standardized. So if you have an EPD from any company, if it's from Europe or the US or from Asia, the methods are the same. So the verification is a honest way to do that, and it can be used as for building certification, building passports, and of course, what we are talking about this morning is product comparison. To come to an EPD is that in this scheme we show this a little bit. So what we do is we gather all the data from our suppliers, but also from the suppliers from our suppliers. We put that in the, let's say, simple way in a spreadsheet, and we deliver those data to GUT. They check the data, they send it to IBU or UL, and somebody from UL or IBU will check the data at GUT and at our company. And after they are convinced that the data are correct, they will publish the EPD. So EPDs are not published by ourselves. Of course, you can find our EPDs via our website, but we are not the company who will publish the EPD. So it's that shows that it's a really third party verified document. Within the EPDs, there are several types of EPD, and I think this slide is one of the more important slides for you to remember. So producers or manufacturers can deliver you different types of EPD. The most accurate one will be a product-specific EPD, and most of a lot of our peers in our business will have product-specific EPDs. Then the second one is a product group average EPD. We use that also, but also always in conjunction with a product-specific EPD. And I think the A-label suppliers in our business all have either product-specific or a group average EPD. The third one, a cross-manufacturing group EPD, is a EPD made of data, for example, by HUD, collected from various suppliers, and then they take the worst case average data of that product. So if a company uses a cross-manufacturing group EPD, it's always worst case, but not the actual data. And what we see is that those data are often quite high compared to product average EPD or a product-specific EPD. If you come across to a generic data EPD, I wouldn't use that because it's too inaccurate. It has too much variables in the data. So if you want to work with an EPD, ask your supplier to a product-specific or a product group average EPD. So these are some examples how EPDs will look if you will get them. So the first two are product group EPDs, and the second and third, of the third and fourth, are product-specific EPDs. And as you can see, they all look different, but the data in those documents will be the same, made up by the same parameters of the two ISO norms, which I already mentioned. So if you start working with an EPD, know that the numbers are used as always from a worst case scenario. If using an EPD, you will see that you will have different stages of the life cycle of a product, and this can be daunting to see, but what you need to remember, and this is quite important, that we are mainly focusing on the production state of a product, being the raw materials, the transportation of the raw materials to our factory, and then the manufacturing of the product. The data collected in the cradle to gate, so A1 to A3, are the only data within an EPD which are factual and measurable, because those data are collected after production. Within our branch, we decided to also collect data regarding construction phase and also the use stage. but these are all data which are within the future. So the parameters we use for this are in general agreed upon, and that we use all, let's say, the same data. For example, transportation from the factory to the product, the production of the project is 700 kilometers using a full load truck. But there are some companies who will say, okay, we will use 500 kilometers with a half load truck. So then you already have a variable in the data. So adding those data together from A1 to let's say A5 is not, they're not factual. So using A1 to A3, they're the only factual dates. And the end of life data is all also all within the future. So EPDs in practice. So you're starting to design an interior and you want to use EPDs for comparison of different products. And you will ask the supplier for the EPD, and this is what you will get. Know that EPDs are scientific statements and scientific documents, and for a layman it's daunting to see these documents for the first time and to know where to look. Factual, this is the page where you need to look at, and I will zoom in on where you need to look after that. But also if you have a product specific EPD, again, a lot of data, but you need to look at these two pages. This is for example, a EPD from UL. Looks a little bit different, but in the end, the data which are provided are all verified within those two ISO norms. So despite having the different EPDs, how they look and how they are filled and what they show, the data in itself will be comparable. So, okay, how will we use it? For example, what's really important if you start using EPDs is that you verify if it's still valid. So you need to look at the publication date and until the EPD is still valid. And then, of course, the description of the product, product specification, and of course, the yarn weight. Why yarn weight? It's quite simple. The more mass a product will have, the higher the impact a product will have. So in comparison, yes, but for example, with carpet tiles, take into account what the yarn weight is. So within the branch, it's agreed upon that a carpet tile between 500 and 600 grams is an apple comparison, or 700 to 800 grams is an apple-to-apple comparison, because the difference within the bracket from 100 grams, the difference within the numbers is so small that you can compare them together. But also look what type of yarn is it? Is it a PA6 or a PA66? Is it 100% recycled yarn, or does it have 75% recycled content or 40% recycled content? Or it's 100% virgin yarn? If it's a tufted product or a woven product, and of course, if it has the same look and feel. But I will give you an example on a apple and apple comparison a little bit later on. But also, and I think an apple and pear comparison probably will, you will come across that more than an apple and apple comparison. For example, there will be products with almost the same look and feel, but between different manufacturers. The difference can be the type of yarn and the weight of the yarn. But then in the end, for a layman, if you will look at a carpet tile with those differences, it can look almost the same, but there is a factual difference within yarn and yarn weight. But we will get that also. I will show you an example of that a little bit later on. So if you start first, look at the issue date and if it's still valid. So this example was published this year and will be valid until 2030. That doesn't mean that there won't be any changes within those 5 years. So if we will have a improvement in products, we will provide you with new EPDs, as we just have done this month. But also the description. So this EPD is for a modular carpet with a sequence bio backing with 600 grams solution dyed polyamide 6 with 100% recycled content, or it can be a product with 700 to 800 grams PA6 with recycled content, but then piece dyed. So that's a different way in which the coloring of the yarn has been taking place. We also talked about that it's a building passport because the raw materials are described in an EPD. As you can see, for example, that's a 50 by 50 carpet tile produced with 100% recycled yarn. It's made of PA6 with other raw materials like polyester, polypropylene, limestone, wood resin, glass fiber, and other additives. And this is for people which really want to do a deep dive within an EPD. So look at the publication date, it's still valid, the product description and the product specifications. So if you have the EPD and you will have the first page with all the data where the GWP number is mentioned, or the global warming potential. That's the number where we actually are looking at. But here are two examples of two whole different ways of layout of an EPD. But where do we need to look? It's the A1 to A3 column, and you can add them, or there will be a total on this. And here I've zoomed in on the left example. So we need to look at the GWP total. So that's the global warming potential total kilograms of CO2 equivalent. And then you will see a number of 5.45 equivalent plus 00. What that means, I will explain a little bit later on. Within all the new EPDs, there is also a split between fossil, biogenic, and LUCU. Fossil is the amount of non-renewable raw materials. Biogenic is all the bio-based raw materials, and LUCU is the impact on the surroundings of the factory. But we focus on the total, because then in the end it's always about the total impact of the product. So how to read the numbers? Here you can see GWP 8.22. This means that this product has a carbon footprint of 8.22 kilos per square meter. The next one says 10.08 plus 1. If it stands with plus 1, the comma will move one place to the right. So this product has an impact of 10.8 kilos. per square meter of CO2. So the third one, the GWP, notes that it's minus 4.25, equivalent minus O2. That means that the comma will switch 2 places to the left. And so this product has a carbon negative impact of 42 grams. I often get the question, why does it state 4.25 equivalent minus O2? Because this is a scientific document, it's possible that there will be numbers with 8 to 9 numbers after the comma. That doesn't fit in the bracket of the sheet. Because it's a scientific document, that's the way that they show what the smaller number is. So the last one, again, it says minus O1, so the comma switches 1 place to the left. So this product has a carbon impact of 167 grams per square meter. In everything I'm telling you this morning, actually this sheet is the most important one, that you know where to switch the comma to. If it says plus, so the comma will switch to the right. If the comma says minus, the comma will switch to the left. And knowing this will help you enormously in quickly find what the GWP number for a product is. So as recap, A1 to A3 are the numbers for in the cradle to grave part of the product. And these are all variable numbers because these are all factual and all can be checked by the publication firm. Of course, you need to know where you can find EPDs. So this is a scheme where you can find the EPDs on the website of Interface. On product level, it always will stay on the environmental product specifications, and then you will see a small piece where you can download the EPD, and then depending on the product, you will get a group EPD or you will get a product-specific EPD from the website from Interface. And then, of course, you can look at the GWP number A1, A3. Same applies to our NORA website, where you can find all the EPDs of our NORAment and NORAplan products. And here you need to click a little bit more, but it's still quite easy to find from the NORA website. Of course, there are still a lot of other websites where you can find, these are some examples of websites where you can find the EPDs from of all published EPDs by the different companies. We work from the EBO with the EBO website and the UL website. If you want, you can send us an email at the end of this workshop if you want to receive this presentation, that you can look at from which websites you can look at different EPDs. So in practice, we'll now have a look at a example on apples with apples and apples with pears, and what that means in practice. So apples with apples. What I've done, I've looked at 4 products in the market which have almost the same look and feel, being our Yuga 727, the Target Deso Stratos, the Modulus Millennium Next, and the Balzan Pilot 2. They are all a level loop pile with between 500 and 600 grams with 100% recycled nylon. But what will be the difference in the carbon footprint, the GWP A1 to A3? So having a look at these products, normally when I have a physical presentation, I will show you the samples physically, but now I'm showing you the picture of the 4 products. For the average layman in our business, these 4 products have almost the same look and feel. And if, for example, you subscribed a 727, but the building contractor comes to you and he says, we need to save some money, and here I have a product with which is the same product but a cheaper. But for example, you've chosen the 727 because of the quality and because of the low carbon footprint. Now you have the possibility to tell the building contractor, well, the product looks the same, but the environmental impact is quite different. And I can show you that now. For example, the impact of the 727 is 2.15 kilos per square meters. But if you compare that to, for example, the Balzan product, that's almost triple the impact. So again, it will look almost the same, but if you are choosing products on their environmental impact and also using, for example, the amount of recycled and bio-based content on the product. For example, the 727 has over 90% recycled and bio-based content, and the Balzan product only has about 60% recycled content. So there is, again, it can look almost the same, but from an environmental point of view, there is a huge difference between those products. So then it's up to you what to choose. And if you think that sustainability or the impact of a product is important, I think this will help you make smart decisions on which products to use in the future by using these kind of data. And of course, we already also talked about the apples with pears. In this case, I've used our product Composure, one of more famous products. It's a pattern structured lupile with a organic design. And again, I've used the same yarn bracket, so between the bracket of 100 grams per square meter. And I've looked at different products within the market which have almost the same look and feel. So our Composure, but also our Recreation, which is actually our own clone within of the Composure, which with almost the same look and feel. The Forbo Cloud Space, the Desert, initially with its standard bitumen backing, and the Cloud of Modulus. As you can see, they're all within the 100 gram bracket, and they all are organic designs which can be installed randomly, but there is a huge difference between the yarn types. For example, Composure has a yarn with 75% recycled content. Recreation has a 100% recycled content. The Modulus Cloud is 100% virgin yarn. Cloud Space has a bio-derived yarn, and the Desert from Taquet is also a yarn with 75% recycled content. So then again, if you are looking for a organic design which can be installed randomly, these 5 will meet that criteria. But if you're looking for a random design of an organic design which can be installed randomly with the lowest impact, here you can see the difference. And then again, Composure, impact of 2.94 kilos, which is really, really low. But even recreation, because it has 100% recycled yarn, has an even lower footprint. For accuracy, I've also put in the number of the Taquet Deso with their new eco-based bio backing. As you can see, that has a lower footprint than the bitumen backing. And the recreation can be fitted with a Sequence Bio X product, and then it's even possible to make this product carbon negative. So as you can see, there is, if you look at the previous slides, all organic, all almost the same color, but from an impact point of view, there is a huge difference between those 5 products. And all these data which I've used are freely available on the internet from the different websites of the different companies. So I've nothing which I've shown is not verified. The last thing I want to talk about is that we've seen that some of our competitors are talking about the end-of-life footprint, but you need to know that using that carbon footprint is within the rules of an EPD is not allowed. Because if you're using the D module for showing your carbon footprint as an end-of-life carbon footprint, you are calculating the numbers double, because normally if you would use the D module, you needed to already have it in place within the A1 to A3 numbers. So within the rules of of calculating the data within the norms of the ISO norms of the EPD, showing the D module is not forbidden, but using it as a factual number, so saying, well, my end-of-life carbon footprint is this, is not allowed within the boundaries of an EPD. And actually, this concludes my presentation on how to use an EPD. I've seen that I've done it quite quickly, but normally I'll get questions during the presentation. So I'm open to some questions. I've see that there is one question, or maybe there are some other questions already.
First of all, thank you very much, Roderick, for this insightful presentation. At this moment, we have only one question. If it's possible to receive the presentation after the meeting, of course, it's possible. You can reach me via address email I sent via chat if you want to receive the presentation. But if anyone from our audience would like to ask something, please feel free to post the question in our chat. And if any questions will come to your mind after the workshop, I encourage you to contact us directly, also via the mail sent in the chat, or via the PLGBC address email you received in the confirmation message upon registering for today's webinar, and we'll connect you directly to our expert. I can't see any movement in the chat, so once again, I would like to thank to our expert and to all of you for joining us today. See you in another event, and have a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you for your attention, and have a lovely day.
Thank you, goodbye.